You're entering the Blitz with your host, Matt Maldonado, on Madness4life News. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Matt Maldonado, here in FEMA Region 9 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is the Blitz, Madness4life News. I'm going to be getting into just a couple of news stories here today. It is actually September 15th, 2012. I'm doing the Friday edition on Saturday. I'm going to be doing the Saturday edition as well after this podcast. So this is podcast number 43 and episode 14. So trying to do the September 14th edition here today. I'm going to be getting into a lot of the economic collapse and the end of the American dream. Some of those articles here today. Only 2 articles, actually. It's going to be a short podcast, so because I missed it Friday. Thursday, I was actually very busy because of a show that I did, so I'm going to be doing this here right now. Part of the American dream, the end of the American dream. 10 shocking quotes about what QE3 is going to do to America. I'm going to be doing all of that. All right, let's get started. Ready or not, QE3 is here, and the long-term effects of this reckless money printing by the Federal Reserve are going to be obviously nightmarish. The Federal Reserve is hoping that buying $40 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities per month will spur more lending and more economic activity. What that didn't happen with either QE1 or QE2. Both times, the banks just sat on most of the extra money. As I pointed out the other day, U.S. banks are already sitting on $1.6 trillion in excess reserves, so will pumping them up with more cash suddenly make them decent to start lending? Of course not. In addition, QE3 is not likely to produce many additional jobs. As I showed in a previous article, the unemployment level did not jump up as a result of either QE1 or QE2. So why will this time be different? But what did happen under both QE1 and QE2 is that a lot of the money ended up pumping up the financial markets. So once again, we should see stock prices go up, at least in the short term, and commodities such as gold, silver, food, and oil should also rise. But that also means that average American families will be paying more for the basic necessities that they buy on a original basis. The most dangerous aspect of QE3, however, is what it is going to do to the U.S. dollar. Most of the world uses the U.S. dollar to conduct international trade, and by choosing to recklessly print money, Ben Bernanke is severely damaging con conf conf of course in our currency. If at some point the rest of the world rejects the dollar and no longer wants to use it as a reserve currency, we are going to be facing a crisis unlike anything we have ever seen before. The real debate about QE3 should not be about whether or not it will help the economy a little bit in the short term. Rather, everyone should be talking about the long-term implementations and about how QE3 is going to accelerate the destruction of the dollar. The following are 10 shocking quotes about what QE3 is going to do to America. Number 1, Ron Paul. It means we are weakening the dollar. We are trying to liquidate our debt through inflation. The consequences of what the Fed is doing is a lot more than just CPI. It has to do with malinvestment and people doing the wrong things at the wrong time. Believe me, there is plenty of that. The one thing that Bernanke has not achieved, and it frustrates him, I can tell, is he gets no economic growth. He doesn't do anything with the unemployment numbers. I think the country should have panicked over what the Fed is saying, that we have lost control, and the only thing we have left is massively creating new money out of thin air, which has not worked before and is not going to work this time. Number 2, Peter Schiff, CEO of Euro Pacific Capital. This is a destructive monetary policy. It's kamikaze monetary policy. Number 3, Michael Bento, the founder of Pento Profile Strategies. This is the nuclear option for them. This is a never-ending weapon that is being fired at the middle class. Donald Trump, people like me, will benefit from this. People like me will there you go. People like me will benefit from this, of course. Donald Trump. Number 5, economist Anthony Randazzo, quantitative easing, a fancy term for the Federal Reserve buying securities from predefined financial institutions, such as their investments in federal debt or mortgages, is fundamentally a aggressive redistribution program that has been boosting wealth for those already engaged in the financial sector or those who already own homes, but passing a little along to the rest of the economy. It is a primary drive of income inequality. There we go. Formed by crony capitalism, and it is hurting prospects for economic growth down the road by promoting malinvestments in the economy. Number 6, John Williams of ShadowStatus.com. That's obviously nonsense. The Fed is just propping up the banks. Number 7, Mark Faber. I happen to believe that eventually we will have a systematic crisis, and everything will collapse. But the question is really between here and then, will everything collapse with Dow Jones 20,000 or 50,000 or $10 million in the hole. Mr. Bernanke is a money printer, and believe me, if Mitt Romney wins the election, the next Fed chairman will also be a money printer, and so it will go on. The Europeans will print money, the Chinese will print money, everybody will print money, and the purchasing power of paper money will go down. Number 8, was it Menso, can't even say that name. Mi Surao, financial chief economist Dana Sonk. I think there is. I think this will end up being $1 trillion commitment by the Fed. Number 9, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke. I want to be clear. While I think we can make a meaningful and significant contribution to reducing this problem, we can't solve it. We don't have tools that are strong enough to solve the unemployment problem. Well, why don't you just not print up money and actually just give it to the private sector? But hey, they're not going to do that. Number 10, credit rating agency N. Jones, the Fed's QE3 will stoke the stock market and commodity prices, but in our opinion, will hurt the U.S. economy and by extension create quantity, issuing additional currency and depressing interest rates via the purchasing of MBS. BS is right. Does little to rise the real GDP of the U.S., but does reduce the value of the dollar because of the increase in money supply, and in turn increase the cost of commodities. See the recent rise in the prices of energy, gold, and other commodities. The increased cost of commodities will purchase profitability of businesses and increase the cost of consumers, thereby reducing customer purchasing power. Hence, in our opinion, QE3 will be the terminal to credit quality for the U.S. We have reached a major turning point in the financial history of the United States. It will be hard to overstate how much damage that QE3 could potentially do to our financial system. If the rest of the world decides at some point that they no longer have confines in our dollars and our debt, then we are finished. Sadly, the mainstream media does not seem to understand this, and most Americans gleefully believe whatever the mainstream media tells them. So what do you think about QE3? Please feel free to post a comment with your opinions following this article. And that's the end of that one. Continuing here with the next article. QE3 helicopter Ben Bernanke unleashes an all-out attack on the U.S. dollar. This is from the Economic Collapse. You can't excuse Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke of not living up to his nickname. Back in 2002, Bernanke delivered a speech entitled Deflation, Making Sure It Doesn't Happen Here, in which he referenced a statement by economist Milton Friedman about fighting deflation by dropping money from a helicopter. Well, it might be time for a new nickname for Bernanke, because what he did today was a lot more than drop money from a helicopter. Today, the Federal Reserve announced that QE3 will begin on Friday, but it is going to be much different from QE1 and QE2. Both of them rounds of quantitative easing were of limited duration. This time, the quantitative easing is going to be open-ended. The Fed is going to buy $40 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities per month until they have decided that the economy is in good enough shape to stop. For those that get confused by terms like quantitative easing and mortgage-backed securities, what the Federal Reserve is essentially saying is this: we're going to print a bunch of money and buy stuff for as long as we feel it is necessary. In addition, the Federal Reserve has promised to keep interest rates at ultra low levels all the way through mid-2015. The course that the Federal Reserve has set us on is utter insanity. Ben Bernanke can rain money down on us he wants, but it is not going to do much at all to help the real economy. However, it will definitely hasten the destruction of the U.S. dollar. The Federal Reserve is apparently very eager to get QE3 going. Purchases of mortgage-backed securities are going to start on Friday in the coming months. Hundreds of billions of dollars that the Federal Reserve has zapped into existence out of nothing will be rejected into our financial system. So what will happen to all of this new money? If banks and federal financial institutions use that money to make loans, then it could have somewhat of a positive impact on the economy in the short term. However, the truth is that it isn't as if banks are hurting for cash to loan out. In fact, right now banks are already sitting on $1.6 trillion in excess reserves. Just like with the first two rounds of quantitative easing, a lot of the money from QE3 will likely end up being put on the shelves, of course. But the stock market loved the news because they know that the previous two rounds of quantitative easing have been great for the financial markets. On Thursday, the stock market soared to next levels not seen since December 2007. There is much rejoice on Wall Street right now. And this stock market bounce is great for Bernanke's good buddy, Barack Obama. Obama nominated Bernanke to a second term as Fed chairman, and this might be Bernanke's way by paying him back. But of course, the Fed is supposed to be above politics, so that would never happen, right? The Federal Reserve essentially crossed the Rubicon today. No longer will quantitative easing be considered an emergency measure. Rather, it will now be considered just another tool that the Fed uses in the normal course of business. Well, that actually happened. Of course, that wasn't a emergency measure. It was supposed to be to continue to devalue the dollar and bring the markets down in the U.S. economy. But hey, that's okay. And then soaring prices on everything: gas, electricity, housing market, everything. Just soaring prices on everything. And good luck of trying to live through basically not one, not two, not three, but 5 jobs. People are going to be going through 5 jobs in order to get by. And that's horrible. But hey, I'm not allowing the prices, the interest rates to actually fluctuate. Instead, they want to keep it at ultra low levels to continue this whole facade thinking that it's going to create jobs. In reality, it's not going to create anything. It's really mind-boggling here. Continuing here, considering how viable the U.S. dollar already is, vulnerable. There we go. Announcing an open-ended round of quantitative easing is ultra foolishness. According to the Fed, when you add the $40 billion of new mortgage-backed security purchases per month to all of the other easing measures the Fed is continuing to do, the grand total is going to come to about $85 billion in a month. The following is from the statement that the Fed released earlier today. To support a stronger economic recovery and to help ensure that inflation over time is at the rate most consistent with its dual mandate, the committee agreed today to increase policy commendation, but purchasing additional agency mortgage-backed securities at a pace of $40 billion per month. The committee also will continue through the end of the year its program to contend the average maturity of its holdings of securities as announced in June, and it is maintaining its existing policy of reinvesting principal payments from its holdings of agency debt and agency mortgage-backed securities in agency mortgage-backed securities. These actions, which together will increase the committee's holdings of long-term securities by about $85 billion each month through the end of the year, should put downward pressure on longer-term interest rates, support mortgage markets, and help to make broader financial conditions more commendative. The committee will closely monitor incoming information on economic and financial developments in coming months. If the outlook for the labor market does not improve substantially, the committee will continue its purchases of agency mortgage-backed securities, undertake additional asset purchases, and employ its other policy tools as appointed until such improvement is achieved in a context of price stability in determining the size, pace, and compensation of its asset purchases. The committee will, as always, take appropriate account of the likely efforts, efficacy, and cost of such purchases. So what does all this mean? I really like how one analyst put it when he described this announcement as I'm gonna ease until your eyes bleed kind of statement. The Fed also promised to keep interest rates at exceptionally low levels until mid-2015 to support continued progress toward maximum employment and price stability. The committee expects that a highly commendative status of monetary policy will remain appropriate. There we go. Appropriate. Can't even read. For a considerable time after the economic recovery strengthens, in The committee also decided today to keep the target range for the federal fund rate at 0 to 1.4%, and currently exceptionally low levels for the federal funds rate are likely to be warranted at least through mid-2015. It seems that whenever the U.S. economy gets into trouble, Bernanke and his friends at the Fed only have one prescription, and it goes something like this: print more money and promise to keep interest rates near zero even longer. Yeah, that'll work. Continuing here, of course, a lot of Republicans are quite disturbed that QE3 was announced with just a couple of months remaining in a very heated election battle. Even big news organizations such as CNBC are commenting on this. Through the Fed is substantially politically independent. The decision comes at a ticklish time with the presidential election. Excuse me. Son of a bitch. All right. Time with the presidential election less than 2 months away. And without a doubt, the mainstream media will be proclaiming this to be good news for the economy in the short term. But is QE3 really going to help the average person on the street? Well, first, let's take a look at employment. We are told that one of the primary reasons for QE3 is jobs. But did QE1 and QE2 create jobs? The answer is clearly no. As you can see from the chart below, the percentage of working age Americans with a job fell dramatically during the last recession and has not bounced back since that time, despite all of the quantitative easing that has been done already. So why try the same thing again when it did not work the first 2 times? But what more quantitative easing is likely to do is to pump up stock market values, because a lot of the money from QE3 is going to end up being put into stocks and other investments. This is going to help the wealthy get even wealthier, and it is going to make the wealthy gap between the rich and the poor even larger in America. QE3 is also probably going to cause commodity prices to rise just like QE1 and QE2 did. That means that you will be paying more for gasoline, food, and other basic necessities. So there may not be more jobs, but at least you will get the privilege of paying more for things. So paying more for less. Of course. The inflation that QE3 will cause will be practically cruel for those on fixed incomes, such as retirees. None of the extra money from QE3 is going to go into their pockets, but they will have to pay more to heat their homes and fill their shopping carts. And the expansional low interest rate policy of the Federal Reserve is obviously divesting for those that have saved for retirement and that are relying on interest income for their living expenses. In short, quantitative easing is very good for the wealthy, and it is very bad for the average man and woman on the street. But what else would you expect from the Federal Reserve? It is imperative that we educate the American people about the Federal Reserve and about how they are destroying our economy. For much more on this, please see my previous article entitled 10 Things That Every American Should Know About the Federal Reserve. Perhaps the biggest danger from QE3 is that it could greatly hasten the day when the U.S. dollar ceases to be the reserve currency of the world. The rest of the world is not stupid. They see that the Federal Reserve is now firing up the printing presses whenever they feel like it. They can see the games that we are playing with our currency. Why should the rest of the world continue to use the U.S. dollar to trade with one another when the United States is consistently debasing it and not playing games with its value? As I wrote about the other day, China and Russia have been calling for a new reserve currency for the world for several years. They have been leading the charge to conduct international trade in currencies other than the U.S. dollar. And I have documented many of the major international agreements to move away from the U.S. dollar that have been made in the last couple of years. The status of the U.S. dollar in the world has already been steadily slipping. And now helicopter Ben Bernanke pulls this kind of nonsense. We are handing the rest of the world an access to abandon the U.S. dollar on a silver platter. And when the rest of the globe rejects the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency, the dollar will crash. The cost of living will increase dramatically. Our standard of living will go way down and will never fully recover from it. So if you think that things are bad now, just wait until that happens. The dollar is one of the best things that the U.S. economy still has going for it, and helicopter Ben Bernanke is doing his best to obviously destroy that. What is your opinion of QE3? Please feel free to post a comment with your thoughts below. So, and that is it for this portion of the Blitz, the Friday edition. I only had time for 2 articles from the economic collapse and the end of the American Dream.com. And if you'd like to follow me from this video, you can hit that subscribe button, or you can also follow me on the links below, or you can also follow Close to Modern. They're also on the links below. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me. And now is going to be coming the next portion of the podcast, which is podcast number 44 and episode 15. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless America.